Well, congratulations for completing this 10-video free Life Purpose Breakthrough course. I've been mentioning the handouts as we've gone along and wanted to be sure that you can get the most out of them, so we're going to be going over those in just a moment. But let's begin by talking about beingness versus doingness, since I promised we'd cover this. You know, back during the economic downturn, a lot of people around me were spinning around in circles, and I thought that sitting down with some successful people and learning some of their secrets might uncover some fresh ideas for how to weather the storm, any storm. To me, it seems like regardless of what's going on in an actual economy, there are some super successful people who always manage to create their own economy. While we're all battling these exterior influences, they're just riding the wave and finding new ways to create prosperity as they go. How do they do it? I was curious to find out. But before approaching these amazingly successful entrepreneurs, I wanted to talk with the people who were struggling the most. And so I asked each one, if you could have lunch with a millionaire, what would you most want to ask? And I wound up with a list of about 100 potential questions and then narrowed it down to the 10 questions that seemed to be popping up over and over again. Then I put together a list of highly successful entrepreneurs all over the country who were willing to answer the questions for me. Now, I've sat on a number of these millionaire panels myself, and so I know what these people go through. Typically, the moderator will spend forever asking meaningless, surface questions that anyone with half a brain could probably figure out the answer to. And just about the time things start to get interesting, the moderator would move on to another topic. It's just like when you're poised on the brink of diving below the surface and finally scooping up some pearls of wisdom, they tell you it's time to get out of the water. Well, something similar happened with my group of successful entrepreneurs. It didn't take long before I started to notice a pattern with the interviews. Even though I was ready to do a deep dive into the most important questions so I could uncover the best pearls of wisdom, these successful entrepreneurs had no interest in answering my questions. And there was one very specific reason for their disinterest. The questions that I was giving them were centered around doingness, while the successful people wanted to talk about beingness. They wanted me to know that constantly pushing for success wasn't necessarily going to get anybody there. So what are beingness and doingness, and what does it have to do with life purpose? Well, this is interesting. You won't find the words beingness or doingness in the dictionary, at least not in my dictionary, although it's probably only a matter of time as these words get more of a foothold in our culture. When people are looking for how to become successful, they're often asking for a step-by-step formula that will create success for them. They want to know exactly what successful people do, first and second and third and so on, to get where they are. Then they mostly want to replicate the exact same thing. In other words, they want to emulate someone else's success and were willing to do just about anything to get it. That's a pretty good representation of doingness. Now, the successful entrepreneurs saw things differently. They would say things like, just be yourself, or you have to show up in the world as an authentic person. They wanted to talk about attitude, perspective, and finding your purpose in life. They were talking about beingness. Now, since all these successful people across the board seem to be concerned with this, we could assume that beingness was somehow related to their success. Either their ability to be helped them achieve it, or by achieving it, they were better able to do less and be more. Either way, they universally regarded being as more important than doing. Now, I have my own opinion regarding what it takes to be a success and how it relates to beingness. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, there will come a time in every person's education where they'll realize that envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. Now, to me, what that means is if you want the same result as someone who's already successful, then you have to take action based on your own purpose, not theirs, which is exactly why I created the Unique Passion Blueprint. It's your beingness that needs to rise to the surface. When Emerson talks about how imitation is suicide, it's because someone who achieves success, they do it their own way, and each successful person has their own blueprint. And that's why you often hear successful people talk in terms of attitude, perspective, and optimism. It isn't about their actions so much. They are their own person with their own passions and purpose. You can't just emulate their actions and expect to receive or achieve the same results. The path to success is passion. And passion is distinctive and personal to every individual on this planet. And this is why you need to find your own personal passion to create success. That passion identifies who you are and what you stand for. Now, I've often had people in my mastermind groups who are struggling, looking for the answer, hoping to find the right formula, and looking everywhere but within. It isn't uncommon for someone to lay their troubles at my feet and say, "What would you do, Rainey?" I could tell them what I would do, but that would be imitation. And then, they'd come back to me and cry out, "It didn't work. What did you leave out?" And the only answer I would have for what was missing is you. You didn't show up. No matter how closely they emulate what I do, they can't recreate the passion I have for something. I mean, just the other day, a friend of mine asked me this very question about her own career, and I asked her, "Do you still have passion for what you do?" Her eyes welled up with tears, and she found it hard to admit that she didn't. But she was throwing her hands up in the air, not knowing what else to do. "I desperately need to get some money on the table," she said. "My family is depending on me." And I soberly told her, it isn't the money that needs to come to the table. It's you that needs to come to the table. This is why it's so important to find your own passion and purpose so you can be who you are. The path to success, the path to wealth, is passion. Of course, you may still feel that regardless of passion, the path to success is all about doing this. I mean, after all, isn't success supposed to be about taking action, taking steps, making it happen? I mean, what could possibly be wrong with that? Well, let me be clear. It isn't that doing is all bad. If there was something wrong with doing, that would mean we're all supposed to spend our lives just being, which just can't be a good thing since we have to take care of the physical parts of life and work. The problem comes when we put all of our energy into doing and we have no energy left to just be. When your life is all about doing this, it's all about action. It's about checking things off your to-do list and then moving on to the next thing and the next one and the next one. Doers believe that when they perform the right actions, they'll get everything they need and more. Like people who are looking for advice and inspiration from millionaires, they wanted these successful people to tell them what to do. But all this doing takes time and energy to the point where it doesn't leave you a lot of time to breathe, to ponder, to consider, even to dream. When you spend all your time doing, a big part of the puzzle you need for a successful life is missing, that part where you take time to think about who you are and what matters to you before moving forward. The part where you take a moment to recenter yourself and just make sure you're on track. The part where you take a moment to change course when you need to, instead of barreling full steam ahead into what might be a disaster zone. That's the being part. When you spend all your time doing, it can actually rob you of your exclamation points because all that activity can get between you and your dreams. You turn into the Tasmanian devil with this whirling circle of stuff spinning around you all the time, and you lose that clarity and focus that's so important to staying on track and moving in the direction of what really is right and true for you. I'll give you a moment to reflect on this. Does it make sense? Are you seeing the difference between beingness and doingness and how you need time to breathe? A friend of mine once said, panic is not a business strategy. So let's make time to breathe so we can balance our beingness and doingness. Now, I want to move on to the handouts, and remember you can grab your own copy at any one of the links on this page. And we're going to start with your Life Purpose Worksheet number 1. It has the image of the honeycombs on it. Now, this is simply a warm-up exercise to get you looking at your passions, to deepen the process of looking for your life purpose. And the reason I created a honeycomb is because a honeycomb is a structure of cells. And each of your passions, whether you have 5 or 20 passions, all interconnect. And when you pollinate your passions, when you pour your natural energy into them, when you have a balance between beingness and doingness, this is when you begin to discover what you love most and what matters to you. Now, moving on to the next Life Purpose Worksheet number 2, this one begins with a question about how you define life purpose. Everybody has their own definition and their own meaning, and you may have even heard me tell the story of how I had my fingerprints read some years ago to give me a clue about my own life purpose. You can go to lifeprints.com to learn more, but the premise is that 5 months before we're born, our fingerprints are formed, and they hold the key to understanding who we came here to be and what we came here to do. Life Prince was developed by the father of palmistry when he went to Baylor in Texas to study whether this concept was a valid one, and it's turned out to be its own science. And so what I learned about my own fingerprints is that I can do anything I want in this life and be a success, because my own journey, according to my own fingerprints, is to master beingness. Interesting, right? And even though this is my own personal journey, wouldn't you agree that you might have this aspect in your own journey, even to some small degree? It's interesting to think about beingness and doingness from this perspective. And then page 2 of the same worksheet is simply to help you warm up to the idea of finding your life purpose, whether you already know what it is and you're looking for your next purpose on your journey, or whether you're looking for your life purpose for the very first time. I have 3 sets of questions for you, divided into physical world questions, heart questions, and spiritual questions. And this is simply to help you think about life purpose in a new way. And of course, any of these questions could be moved into another category. This isn't intended to be a hard and fast guideline. Consider that it has flexibility. Now, the next part of this worksheet is a life assessment wheel, and it's intended to help you look at the meaning of life, whatever meaning you've assigned to it. But it will also help you to use the physical world questions, heart questions, and spiritual questions and apply them to new categories you might not have thought of. Now, your life purpose worksheet number 3 is putting it all together. It builds on everything from the previous worksheets, helping you to dive even deeper and find more details about your life purpose. And it ends with an exercise on how to create your own life purpose statement. I love that. We'll cover a lot more when you join the Life Purpose Soul Cafe, as you can imagine, but this is a good warm-up to get you started, and you can do all these exercises on your own. So congratulations for completing this 10-video free Life Purpose Breakthrough course. If you're already in our community, then I hope you'll implement what you've learned in all of these 10 videos right away. If this is new for you, then I invite you to honor your calling and join us in the Life Purpose Soul Cafe and begin your revolution right now. Your new life is waiting for you, so head on over to lifepurposesoulcafe.com. This is my heartfelt invitation for you to join me here and now and take inspired action to change your life, because you know right now if this is right for you. You already know. I hope you'll be joining us. I would love for you to be one of the first to get into this remarkable program. So from my heart, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the Life Purpose Soul Cafe.